All right, welcome everybody. This is the final DELISA webinar for this fall 2022 semester. Uh, Today we'll be hearing about an initiative throughout New York State, but primarily in Western New York, our local representative, the Empire State Immersive Experiences. Uh, we're going to be hearing from Professor Christopher Halsman, who is the Electronic and Educational Resources Librarian at State University of New York's Buffalo State College. He was a principal in this initiative, and he'll be giving us some background, and we'll be discussing the impact on the local community and what initiatives like this could potentially, what purpose they could serve in support of scholarship and also community accessibility initiatives. So welcome, Professor Halsman. Thank you for joining us today. As I mentioned in the discussion with you yesterday, our primary audience is students pursuing the MS-LIS at St. John's University. And so that said, I'll just let you take it away. I'll make you the presenter, and you can share with us your materials and your experiences working on the ESSI, easy?
Easy. There was a lot of debate, but we ended up with easy because it was well, not to be not to throw a pun at you this early, but it was easier that way. So, but
that makes
thank
sense.
you. Yes. Thank you so much, Michael, for having me here. Also, a huge thank you to the students. You are the future of our profession, and we know that we're in good hands. Also, thank you to the Division of Library and Information Science Student Association, and of course, to St. John's University. It is a pleasure and an honor to talk to you today. If you do have any questions at any given point, please just refer to me by my first name, Chris. We're pretty casual here. I am the Electronic and Educational Resources Librarian here at Buffalo State College. I've been here for about 2.5 years. I've been a librarian for about 11 years in total. I'm actually a graduate of Buffalo State College. We are a smaller, but not too small, of a college in the State University of New York system of around 6,000 students. We would be called a comprehensive out of that SUNY program. I actually was originally a CIS major, and I bring that up only because of the way that this project that I was worked on with a number of other fantastic colleagues has kind of turned my career into a full circle. But I went from a CIS major to an English major because I preferred to read literature rather than work with computers. I ended up going to the University of Buffalo, or at Buffalo, for my Library and Information Science Master's in the Graduate School of Education there from 2011 to 2013, and graduated in 2013. I was fortunate enough to be able to work part-time as a reference librarian while I was a student. And one of the things that I was told when I got into my LIS program was, yeah, grades are important, but not as important as the experience. So for me to be able to apply what I was learning while I was learning it was really, really important, and it was very helpful and beneficial for me. So being able to work there part-time, I was able to learn. And Hilbert College is a small liberal arts Franciscan college located to the south of Buffalo in Hamburg, New York, one of the places that just recently got 7 feet of snow. But I was there part-time until 2015, where oddly enough, I was able to step in full-time as the electronic resources and systems librarian. So now I was put into a position where I would have to apply some of my technological skills that I had learned early on in my CIS background, which admittedly were not very large. I had to learn a lot of that on the fly. And one of the things I do like to talk about with librarianship is some of the things that we might be lacking. And one of them is obviously development skills as far as creating web applications, even websites to a certain extent. And I will get a little more detailed into the project in just a moment or two. I was very fortunate, though, early on in my full-time career in 2015 to join on to the Western New York Library Resources Council. The council has a number of different committees, one of them being the resources sharing. And considering I was on the electronic resources end of the librarianship, they felt that that would fit on that committee. I actually still currently serve on that committee after having to take a year rotation off, but I've been on that committee for almost my entire full-time career as a librarian. That is actually where the project and the ideas started to incubate for the Empire State Immersive Experiences, or EASY now website. At this point, I'm going to switch over, and I would like to share some slides to just kind of give some perspective background, and also give you a couple of screenshots eventually of the website itself. So hopefully you are seeing the slide that says Empire State Immersive Experiences.
Yes.
Excellent. I do want to list off many of the names that were involved in this project, and this is not comprehensive by any means. Jason Barone, who right now is running the website through the Western New York Library Resources Council. My colleagues Ken Fujiuchi and Joseph Riggi, who really kind of began this idea. Allison Lund, who did a lot of the metadata and actually created the metadata scheme for the EASY website. Diego Pino Navarro, who also works for the Metropolitan New York Library Council, really was the primary developer in this. And Cheryl Knabb is the executive director of WinnieLurk, and William Reed Jones from the University at Buffalo is also a large part of this project. This project really kind of gained a little bit of wind when we started to realize that there were certain things that we could come across online, and there was a little bit of a rise in 360 platforms, New York Times being probably one of the most famous ones. But what we really wanted to do was provide a host and a software platform that would be able to store these 360 images. And we wanted just to be able to allow these images to be stored in a way that would be focusing on preservation. Just to give you a little bit more background, I know I did talk about Buffalo State College, but WinnieLurk is a not-for-profit consortium of libraries through the systems in Western New York, and it does sponsor programs and facilitates a lot of technological innovation. There are a number of member libraries, including academic, corporate, and hospital libraries, other special types as well. So one of the things that we had thought about is the what ifs. For those of you who might not know, the Pan American Exposition was hosted in Buffalo in 1901. 13 buildings were erected for this very large and grand event. Only one still exists. For people who are native to Western New York and to the Buffalo region, seeing pictures like this one on the screen is very kind of shocking, because we don't really have buildings like this anymore. One of the demolished buildings was actually the Temple of Music, where William McKinley was assassinated during the exposition. So we were hoping to think about ways of preservation and keeping keeping some of the records of what's happened in our city together. For those of you who might be sports fans, the Buffalo Memorial Auditorium, built in 1940 and was no longer used after 1996, demolished in 2009. Not only did it host NHL events, the hockey team still exists today, but hosted an NBA team that no longer exists, and countless concerts and other types of entertainment. That building, like I said, is no longer here. So what we're thinking about is trying to preserve and be able to look back into the past and be able to revisit some of these memories, some of these buildings and the architecture that was there. So what we wanted was a community-driven regional repository, especially to begin with local experience, for the local experience and preservation. We wanted to make sure that the metadata was put together correctly, and it was made it very searchable. And we also wanted to make sure we were using controlled data and linked open data. We wanted to provide an openly licensed way to share content that right now this field is mostly proprietary. It's privately owned. There are repositories online like roundme.com where you can actually upload your 360s and they will house them for you. But when you check that little I agree box, you're not really sure about who could gain access to those photos, when those photos could be taken down if the repository no longer exists. So we wanted to make sure that there was something that we had a little more control of. And we also wanted to recognize augmented and virtual reality content as a useful tool for engaging content and experiences, even in the educational realm. There were some current uses of technology and still are here today. This is a actual digital tour that was created of the Larkin building in Buffalo, New York. This was a project that was created by, I believe the company was Isostopy, but please don't forgive me if I was wrong. And what this is actually tours the Larkin building. The Larkin building was designed in 1903 by Frank Lloyd Wright and built in 1904. It was demolished in 1950. It was originally designed for the Larkin Soap Company of Buffalo, New York, and it actually was one of the first buildings to have air conditioning and innovations. Like I said, this building no longer exists. This was a bit of the inspiration. The Anne Frank VR tour from annefrank.org. This is another excellent virtual reality tour of a place that actually exists, but the actual tour itself is not photographs. At any given point, feel free to use the QR codes to visit these. And then the real thing that started this project was this open source code for a lightweight panorama viewer called Penellum. And here's the example from the George Peabody Library. This also a viewer is able to be plugged in and used within a website, and you can see there's like little hotspots on the screen that can have little tooltips or pop-outs that would allow you to actually add some text and put some of the images into context. Once this was discovered by a few of my colleagues on the resources sharing committee within WiniLurk, I think this was when the ideas really started to flow. The challenges that we came across, well, on the outskirts of it, we really had to review legal issues about taking 360 photography. Google Earth obviously has to block out or blur out license plates and faces. So we thought initially that what we would have to do is consult a lawyer to take a look at what guidelines would be about creating these 360 images, because you can't really just point the camera away from areas that you feel would be inappropriate to share on the open web. So certain things like making sure that you were nowhere near a public bathroom, making sure that law enforcement wasn't anywhere near, just to be safe. And there was actually a number of little a number of things on a checklist that was created as far as best practices go. There also really was no repository platforms that supported like a viewable 360 content. And we really did not have the infrastructure to do it ourselves. Primarily, what we really didn't have was developers, and it seems to not be there isn't a lot of developers within the library field. I think, obviously, if somebody has a development background, the remuneration is going to be far greater working for a large computer tech firm rather than a library. So we were kind of in a situation where we had to reach out, and we did create a request for information eventually. I'll get to that in just a moment. We also had to figure out what type of camera and equipment that we wanted to use. And also, there was really no metadata guidelines for 360-degree images. There are for film, there are for books, and a number of other digital objects, but nothing really for panoramic or 360-degree images. So we ended up creating initially a kit that had an iPad that would be able to plug into a 360-degree camera that was called the Ricoh Theta 5. And that camera, we were able to go around and actually just experiment and take pictures. Most of us were just kind of taking pictures of the libraries we were working in at the time. And the idea is that this kit would be loanable. And once we got the repository created, that people could loan out the kit, upload the images that they were taking, and after they would upload it, they could keep whatever images they would like for themselves, and then return the kit to us, and we would actually be able to start developing some content on the site. So after a while, we decided to put a request for information out to develop the easy repository. Like I said, I'd had a very small amount of CIS background. None of it came close to development. And many of my colleagues really, we really just didn't have the infrastructure to start really building this out on our own. There was a lot of kind of attempts to kind of play around with what the possibilities would be. We were very fortunate after meeting with a few larger companies that were really provide development, and we just did not have the resources to hire them. But we were able to find the Metro Library Council that was already working on a system called Archipelago, which is a Drupal-based digital asset management system. And as this project started in 2017, it took us close to 3 years to finally have the beta site, which was launched somewhere around January of 2020, actually right before the pandemic. So I have a little video here to take a look at the website, and I'm just going to kind of play my way through it here. This is probably easier than actually demonstrating it here, but this is what the homepage of the website looks like. You can see there's a featured panorama that's embedded right in. This happens to be a picture of the Union Ship Canal ladle that is on the lakefront in Buffalo. You can explore by 3 different things. You can search, but you can also explore by places, institutions, which institution uploaded it. Also by subject material. And then here is actually a list of the suggested equipment that would be used for best practices to upload images into this site. We can explore, like I said, the institutions right now that belong to WinEuler can upload things. So this is one of the panoramas that we were uploaded from the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Buffalo, New York. You can see you have pretty good control of zooming in and actually kind of scrolling around. You can go hands-free with it too and use your cell phone. We also made sure that these were geolocated through OpenStreetMaps. So any of the EXIF data that was taken from the camera would actually bring that geolocation. And all of these images are downloaded or are downloadable. We also can create tours by patching together individual panoramas. You can also see here that the wiki subject data is used along with Getty terms and of course Library of Congress subject headings. Once you get into a tour, you can kind of play around, zoom in, but you can see the arrows will actually take you to the next spot. Here's the bell tower of the Erie old post office building and library tour. This actually is inaccessible to the public, so something that you could take a look at, get inside, even though you're not really allowed in it. Each one of these hotspots, that even the ones that move around, do have tooltips to tell you where you could go next. So this is a way that somebody who might not be able to get to this old post office could actually take a peek inside, or maybe even a remote learning student might want to look at what the library would look like. Here's another great example of preservation, the Holy Angels Roman Catholic Church. This church is no longer a functional church. The building does stand, but we're not sure what it'll look like in the coming years. So we were able to kind of freeze this in time while it was still a functioning Catholic church. For interactive learning, one of our social work programs actually uses this for home care experience for elderly. This was used during the pandemic to take a look at what living conditions could look like and identify potential hazards in somebody's apartment or living space. So to take a look at just what the back end looks like, I'm not going to go too technical with this. We do have levels of admin that you can access certain areas of it. But once you log in, you actually are able to look at the metadata scheme here, which we ended up agreeing on using JSON metadata. And most of the metadata that you see that comes out of this is actually the EXIF data that's taken right off of the camera when it is uploaded into the system. To create content, you can just go to create, and actually to upload a panorama is very, very simple. Here you can see all you have to do is come up with a title. We actually have done a lot of talking about some kind of naming convention for titles of panoramas. But once you select the JPEG that comes off of the camera, you can see the EXIF data is automatically migrated into the system. And moving on through that, you can create a description. Here is where you can tag on OpenStreetMaps, make sure you're geo-tagged, and you can just select there SUNY College at Buffalo, which is Buffalo State here, and then the date. And now we move into more of the subject terms here, which is usually up to the person that uploads it. So Wikidata subject terms, we can just pull up right off of the Wikidata site, and then we can add as many as we'd like. So we used Buffalo State College and just libraries as a whole library. Getty terms, they're a little limited, but we went with academic libraries here. And you can see once we start typing, it'll automatically find it. And you can also add labels and other notes, and then just move on to the next step. So eventually, this is pretty easy. Once you get to a draft, you can kind of preview it, take a look at it, finish the description, and then all you have to do is save it and then change it from a draft into a published item or an object on the website. You can see this was obviously taken during the pandemic when couches were taped off for safety and social distancing. And this is how you publish it. Just say publish it, and then it'll be viewable online for anybody who visits the website. I can show you very quickly here, Panorama Tour. All you're doing with Panorama Tours essentially is you're taking the panorama pictures or the objects, and you're really just tying them together by using a hotspot generator within the JSON metadata. So I can just select the scene that I've already uploaded. So this one here is the Academic Commons front hallway, and then we can add a second scene and add that as like maybe the Ask Us area, which is just right next to that that foyer there. So once you have selected all of the panoramas that you would like to upload, you can go ahead and start to connect them via the hotspots. So here I'm just going to pick the front hallway, and I'm just going to kind of twist around the 360, and then I'm going to add a little spot there, and it's already going to give me the hotspot pitch and yaw. And then all I have to do is go ahead, put the tooltip in, go back to hallway, or go to the Ask Us desk, and then once I select whichever scene I want it to link to, I can add the hotspot, and it'll give me the arrow automatically, and that will carry me into the next room. So that's just a quick little demonstration and a tour of the website. So where we stand today, I mean, that's a pretty recent recording of the website and just kind of a few things that it is capable of doing. As of the pandemic, we had decided to no longer loan some of the kits for the cameras. First off, the price for the cameras actually dropped quite a bit over the years and since the original planning of this. So what we decided to do was create an action grant that was launched in the second quarter of 2021. And what that grant could do is you could apply for that, and it would provide funding for a 360-degree camera that you could go ahead and do your own filming. And then we would, of course, help with the upload. The other thing that has happened since this grant is that we're getting a lot of user experience feedback from the site itself. One of the things that the task force was initially charged with was after the beta launch was to really kind of go through and kick the tires on it. And we were told by Metro and Diego that try to break it as much as you can because they wanted to make sure that it was really fully functional, and it has been. So what we think the impact and use of this 360-degree repository is, well, obviously accessibility, whether it's a situation like a mobile accessibility where a person might not be able to get to a place, or maybe the place is just off limits and you're not allowed to get inside it or or not allowed to visit it. Obviously, as far as sensory accessibility is concerned, AR and VR is quite behind. These are things that are certainly on the mind of our task force, and certainly things that we are trying to plan for the future. Actually, there was recently an article published in Wired talking about that it's time that AR and VR accessibility, especially for sensory issues, start to be addressed. Also, preservation. That was one of our big things. We wanted to preserve architecture. We wanted to preserve spaces. We also wanted to create that sense of community. And through that sense of community, as far as us using it here as a regional platform, we wanted other people to come up with ideas to use this, ideas that we haven't thought about. And then, of course, educational, remote distance learning, students online has become a big theme, especially in higher education. We were able to provide some assistance to some of the faculty members on this campus for just kind of temporary solutions to situations where like theater students weren't able to get into the theater. We were able to provide tours of the theater that is on campus. We were also looking to maybe pitch to criminal justice or forensic science crime scene investigator programs to actually maybe do some filming of staged crime scenes where students could take a look at and maybe kind of search for potential clues. And why libraries? Really, this is a shareable platform. As far as the code is concerned, the code is actually open. It is not licensed code. You do gonna need some development background to put that together. So what we're trying to do is make all of this, and we actually do have all of the images shareable under the Creative Commons licensing. And we wanted to make sure that, you know, we were not getting into proprietary situations. And we wanted to make sure that we had metadata, that it was community driven, and we wanted to put it into a way that put these images into a system that would last. Finally, if you do want to take a look at the website itself, it can be located at easie.space. If you have your phone out, feel free to use that QR code. That should take you right to the homepage of the website. I'm happy to answer any questions. That's just kind of like the little half hour kind of story of the beginning of Easy. There is a number of people, like I said, that went into this project, a number of librarians and a lot of ideas kicked back. I was a very small part of it, but I was incredibly honored to have been a part of it. I can tell you that the way I got involved in this project, I was at the meeting in the resources sharing committee for the Western New York Library Resources Council, and a lot of this talk about a 360-degree repository using JSON metadata and trying to figure out a way to create this using the Penellum viewer, how it would be possible. And I remember raising my hand when they asked for volunteers for the task force, and I believe I said, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I really want to be a part of this task force to learn. So I was able to be fortunate that my curiosity was able to get me involved with a very talented group of librarians, and I was able to learn an awful lot, not just about metadata or the 360-degree photos itself, but also a lot of other technical things that I've taken into my career. So I thank you very much for the opportunity to share this story and share this amazing platform with you. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. I'd be happy to share my email, or you can contact me via email or via my phone at any given point. So please make that available, Michael. And if anybody asynchronously would like to ask me a question.
I sure will. You know, this project, so first let me give some background. For those students who are not in New York State, here in New York, the state librarian in Albany, our state capital, determined a number of years ago that it would be best for the library systems across New York State, which are typically organized at the county level, to to come together in regional councils. And so that's where the term Library Resource Council comes from. So this is a project that is a joint venture between the Western New York Library Resource Council, or WNYLRC, as Chris mentioned, and the Metropolitan New York Library Resource Council, Metro, which is for New York City libraries. And these councils are not just for public libraries, obviously. They include academic and health sciences, hospital libraries, religious libraries, any number of just established libraries in that region are automatically members of the council. And the benefit is this kind of initiative, where first, the primary benefit is that it's an automatic kind of mini consortium where these libraries can get together and allocate resources locally. So they'll get they can negotiate contracts with database vendors at this level. They can negotiate contracts with any kind of publisher or vendor that services their constituency, instead of just negotiating at that individual institutional level. They bring more of a collective bargaining sensibility to the table when negotiating contracts with vendors. And so that's really what it's the resource councils, library resource council. It's about aggregating resources and providing the fundamentals. This is what became, there's alliances or consortia throughout New York State that allow for interlibrary loans, that facilitate programming. And I know on Long Island we had the Nassau County Library Association. They host a showcase for programming. So they'll have a day twice a year where local magicians, petting zoos, authors, cooking demonstrators, those people will come to a centralized location, and the programming directors of various libraries in the region will go to that location and see firsthand the programming and negotiate the contract to get that program back into their library. So that's the way libraries are organized in New York State. I don't know how other states manage their libraries, but we have library resource councils here in New York State, and it's a great resource. It's also a great resource as students in our program. You have access to the Long Island Library Resource Council and the Metropolitan Library Resource Council, of which DLIS, we are institutional members. So if you encounter any programming, professional development programming, network programming, I mean, these councils give talks like, different levels of using Microsoft Office products or Google Workspace products. Uh, they'll talk to you about metadata standards like JSON, the JavaScript object notation metadata standard that Easy is using. They'll run webinars on EXIF, the XIF, the extended image file format, which is metadata that's automatically generated for any digital photograph ever taken. So learning about that is very useful because that will change the way you interact with things like Instagram or social media in terms of posting private images or images that you think are untraceable. The more you learn about these metadata schema, it'll change your professional practice because you're learning about something that's useful in the field, but it'll also change your personal practice because you're learning about the way these corporations and the way that these sites and services access your data and exactly what that entails. So look at the library resource councils in New York State. I have a question for you, Chris. Going back to Easy and your consultation with the lawyers regarding privacy. Um, what about site access? Like you showed us a couple of examples. You showed us one building that only exists in Easy, right? The Larkin building now only exists in Easy. But what about the bell tower at the top of the post office? How do we get access to these sites? Did the lawyers give you a permission form, or can you just ask? You showed us a church that's abandoned also. Like, how did you get access to these sites?
Right. So actually, first, the Larkin building is not that is not an easy. That was generated by
Oh, sorry, right.
a company called Isistopia, I believe, and that video is Available on YouTube. If you actually go back in the video, there's the QR code. Um, there was, as far as getting access to it, really it was just simply asking whoever had the right to give away access to it. The church I'm not really sure what the future of the church is going to bring, but it was still a commissioned Catholic church at the time, and the people who ran it allowed for that to happen. So that's one of those situations where I believe, and I'm speaking here not as a lawyer, but as a librarian, that we were given access at the time, and that would give us enough. The bell tower is another example. That is not open to the public, as you could, if you look at those images, and which are accessible through the EASY website. It doesn't look like a very safe place to be, but the people who actually have control and ownership of it allowed the photographing to take place. That also goes with like museums as well. So there are some really nice places that we would like to photograph, but these would have to, you wouldn't just be able to pay your admission fee into an art gallery and then set up your 360-degree camera without some kind of permission, especially if you were sharing it online. Now, I mean, I know the Albright Knox Art Gallery, I mean, people go in and take pictures all the time, but it's one thing to have a personal picture on your phone, but it's quite another to create that 360-degree image, put it in a repository and share it. You definitely would want to get some kind of written permission.
Yeah, that's it's the flip side of what we learn in library school about protecting privacy, right?
Right.
It's we have to now consider intellectual property and even copyright, and how do we present these materials and make them accessible publicly, and rights, with a capital R is part of that process, and making sure that we have permissions, and we don't want to set our institutions up for uh, a liability for being sued for, like as you said, if you go into an art gallery and take images and then make those publicly available, that the artists whose art is on the wall are going to have an objection to that because it can be
And
replicated.
strangely enough, there has been, I know there has been interest. There's a local theater that was actually very interested for a little while in the project of donating, allowing us to photograph the premise, and then taking some of the photographs for themselves and using it on their website for virtual tours, and then actually being able to say, well, if you had tickets in this area, you could see where your tickets would be. And there are a lot of, especially since the shutdowns from the pandemic, there are a lot of museums and art galleries that have created these online tours. And from what we've been hearing is that it hasn't really taken a toll on the in-person attendance now that people can actually go and visit it. So, but it's obviously imperative to make sure that you know what you're photographing, you know who owns the areas, or who has the access to those areas to give you proper permission.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested because the first thing I thought of with this project, coming from New York City, is the preservation of churches, which is something that we've dealt with. The St. John's community, has St. John's University started out as a wing of a seminary in Brooklyn. And as the enrollment grew, the campus had to expand, and so that's when it moved into Queens in the 1950s. So the seminary is still there. I mean, it's just in a state of disrepair, and it's attached to a church, the Cathedral of St. John, and it's the church underwent like real bad vandalism and kind of a crisis, an architectural crisis, where the stained glass windows were blown out by bricks and rocks in the 1970s and 80s. Um, but it still has inside these gorgeous frescoes that were painted 200 years ago, and this great marble, and the altar is stunning, and it's kind of a shame that we could lose that space. And I know here, you gave an example, here in Buffalo, we also have a lot of local churches that are kind of closed, and so like, as I explored the project, I was like, oh well, yeah, you would go to the bishop of Buffalo and say, can I have access to these churches to kind of preserve their interior spaces. And it's a fascinating project when you think about that, because as you said, we've only seen this technology applied to commercial endeavors, right? So 360 interior photography is the bread and butter of online real estate, right? It's how you list an apartment, it's how you list a house
Right.
in online real estate, and multiple listing services. Um, and it's also a feature of, that's commercial real estate, it's private real estate, but also for developers and architects to go in and photograph an abandoned mall and then say, this is what we envision for the interior of this space. So we've seen this, and a lot of it touches a lot of aspects of our lives. A gallery or museum would use it, but again, like you said, they might use it for a selected exhibition, or they might charge you, a couple of dollars to access it remotely, um, for a limited time. And it's not in those applications, it's not about preservation, and it's not about local history. And here in this project, you've transitioned 360 degree photography into a matter of public record and of community history. And that's something that I definitely think should be developed. And it's very encouraging to see this and to see that it's from its inception, you're engaging with open coding so that it's accessible to anybody, regardless of the amount of the resources that their institution has. Uh, the focus on making this accessible and applicable in educational uses. I had like this is great if you can't, especially after the pandemic, right? We're learning that we have to make more spaces available to more people remotely. um, it would be a great exercise. I could imagine a middle school teacher taking one of these panoramas and designing a remote scavenger hunt, a virtual scavenger hunt, highlighting different architectural details in the space, or it just opens up a world of use. And I think that that's really what is exciting about the project, is that Easy is really putting this idea into libraries that says, hey, let's preserve these spaces, but as librarians and information professionals, we're doing it from a data-centric uh, standpoint. And the perspective is that this is data, these are digital objects that we can preserve and promote. Um, yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
and
really,
the archiving aspect of it is, I mean, of course, you anticipate the technology and these platforms are going to change over time, just like we've seen, so much magnetic tape of news broadcasts. But the library community and archivists in the areas, all the areas across the country, are making sure that we're preserving the film that's on that tape into digital formats, and we're doing it in a way that is losing as little data as possible. And that is, what we anticipate with this type of project and these types of images is that if it's a proprietary platform that goes out of business, the lights go out, there's no preservation, there's no data that was applied or metadata applied to any of those objects. Where here the goal obviously is to maintain the metadata standards, maintain the preservation, so that when things do change and there are maybe better advancements or different changes to platforms, we can preserve these images.
yeah, and that's, using magnetic tape as an example. It's I found out a couple of years ago that one of the reasons why the Carol Burnett show never made it into reruns, or it never had a lot of success in syndication, is because CBS taped over it every week. So the only instances of Carol Burnett show that persist, and you can look, it's not even on Paramount Plus, which is where they're dumping a lot of their archival shows, is because a number of guest stars that appeared on the show made a recording themselves at home. They used their VHS to record, or the VCR to record on VHS what they were doing. And so if it weren't for, I think the actor's name is Roddy McDowall. He played Cornelius on Planet of the Apes. He was a mainstay. He always appeared. He would appear on the Carol Burnett show a few times a year, and he recorded all of that. And in the 1980s, he got a visit from the FBI because they thought that he was running a bootlegging operation,
Mhm.
uh, recording copyrighted broadcast television shows and selling them, but he was just showing them. to his friends. And if it weren't for him and individuals like him, there would be no record of the Carol Burnett show because CBS literally, after every episode, they would use the same tape and
It's the same
record
tape.
over.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, and
so,
similar,
you know,
and like similarly to we were talking about copyright issues earlier. WKRP in Cincinnati, they just weren't able to like run those into digital platforms and sell them off as DVDs because during the show they were actually spinning actual commercial music. And they, in order to sell those, sell it off as its own show, they had lost the rights to have that music for as short as the clips were. And so they had to replace it with like generic Muzak. So these are the things that like as time goes by, and you preserve these like types of shows, and you have to think about in a 360-degree way. You have to think about copyright and legal ramifications and all of that when it comes to it. But here we are talking about these two television shows. I don't know if we're showing our taste or showing our age right now.
no, we're showing our knowledge of copyright and
Right,
and of best
correct.
practices for preservation of artifacts. So with that in mind, is there any plan, or do you have any kind of schedule for updating the content, these panorama? Because I would imagine that, if your library undergoes a renovation in the next 5 years, that you would want to, capture the updated image. Is there any plan to create that kind of archival uh, hierarchy in Easy, or is it just going to be ad hoc?
You mean as far as photographing E.H. Butler Library here at Buffalo State, or as far as, oh, you mean
Or
the platform?
on the platform, like, is there any space for having multiple versions of the same panorama over time?
Yeah, I mean, the space right now is really, I don't think it's a concern. Right now, it's the resources to maintain it and make sure it's a sustainable project. Right now, the Western New York Library Resources Council really is taking most of the care as far as assisting the members with uploads. Like I said before, right now, technically, it's really only open to uh, two council members. Although, caveats can be made. We're trying to just focus on like educational preservation type content. There's definitely a lot of talk about improvements down the line. But those are one of the things that the task force and currently the users are giving feedback. And when the time is ready and the resources are there, I believe that the idea and the goal is to continuously update the platform.
Excellent. Yeah, it's good job. Thank you very much for sharing the Easy platform with us, and for just participating. I mean, it's such a great initiative. So again, I will make sure that your contact information is accessible to our students for any follow-ups that they have after exploring the project. Thank you again, Professor Holzman, Chris, for joining us. I'm going to end the webinar the way I always do, which is just some housekeeping. As I mentioned at the top, this is just the end of our webinar cycle for fall 2022. That being said, I'm wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. The spring semester commences on January 18th of 2023. So hopefully we'll see you all then. Professor Holzman, thanks again.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and I can't, thank my colleagues enough that have worked on the project. I learned a lot from them, and of course, the Western New York Library Resources Council for being able to incubate this. So it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much.
again, and I'll send you off with the traditional Buffalo or Western New York salutation. Go Bills.
Go Bills.